My name is Jessica Nabongo, and I'm a writer, photographer, entrepreneur, and I would say I am a liver and lover of life. I am an American born Ugandan. I was born and raised in Detroit, Michigan, to Ugandan immigrants. And yeah, I mean, I am widely known as the first Black woman to visit every country in the world. But more than anything, I would say I'm a global citizen.
I'd love to hear a little bit more about growing up in Detroit, Michigan. What was that like? Did you have many siblings? Were you quite outdoorsy? Did you go traveling a lot as a family?
Yeah, we definitely traveled a lot as a family. My first international trip was to Canada, which is quite close to Detroit, when I was four. And then my first transatlantic trip was to Uganda through London. So we stayed in London for a few days because we have family in London. And then we went on to Uganda. And I think I was six at the time or seven. And so, growing up, travel was such a regular part of my childhood. I have two older sisters, and we would often travel as a family. We've been to Mexico together, and Jamaica, and Cayman Islands, and the Bahamas. But, we would also travel domestically as well. So it didn't, for my parents, it wasn't necessarily how far. It was just that they wanted us to do something every summer.
Do you remember what you wanted to be when you were a little girl?
Yeah, a lawyer.
When did you start thinking more about sort of travel and being an entrepreneur and, getting into this world? Was that sort of a logical progression, or did you do stuff before that?
Yeah, I mean, I always say I've lived like 12 lifetimes because all of my lives have been really different. So when I first graduated from undergrad, I started working for a pharmaceutical company full time. And so I worked for a pharmaceutical company for 2 years, so corporate America experience. Then I decided to quit and move to Japan to teach English for a year. And then after that, I just traveled for 9 months around to really the world. It was the first time I went to Australia and Fiji during that time. And then I moved to London. I did my master's degree at the London School of Economics. Then I moved to West Africa to work in the development industry. Then I moved to Italy to work for the United Nations, then to DC, where I worked for a consulting firm. And that is where finally I found myself on a new track. So, I worked corporate, I worked nonprofit, I've done academia twice now. But the one through line is that obviously I was traveling the entire time. And I think after the experience I had working at that consulting firm in DC, I just decided, you know what, I'm going to just try and figure things out on my own. And so I started my travel agency then, and then things just went forward from there.
Oh my God, we needed like another 9 episodes because I'm just going through thinking, oh my God, I want to talk about Japan and teaching English over there, and then 9 months travel, and then being in London, and then working for the UN in Italy. Like, okay, Sarah, focus. So, what type of traveler would you say that you are? Like, are you a budget traveler? Are you, do you do organized trips? Do you plan it all out yourself? Has that evolved throughout the years as you've sort of grown and changed careers?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely changed. I wouldn't say I was ever really like that super budget traveler because I really enjoy my personal comforts. But now I would definitely say I'm a leisure traveler. If I'm going somewhere, I want to feel very comfortable. I want really great amenities and concierge and spa and things like that. So, and that's definitely changed the older I've gotten.
Oh my God, 100%. So let's go back to that 9 months of travel. So you spent a year in Japan teaching English, and then you had sort of 9 months off to go traveling. Take us back to that sort of 9 months of travel and what that was like, and how old were you at that time?
Yeah, so by then I was 25. I turned 25 that year. And yeah, I was all over the place. I did a road trip in the Western US with this guy. I met this Australian guy that I met in a McDonald's in Japan. We together. I went on my first solo trip ever. That was to Costa Rica that year. My best friend was doing Peace Corps in Fiji. So that same Australian guy, I stopped at his place in Australia for a week, and then I went to Fiji for 2 weeks. So I was really just all over the place. living it up.
What do you love most about travel and being able to explore these different countries?
I think for me, what draws me to travel is my curiosity to see how other people live. And so I really find a lot of beauty in the mundane. I'm not always looking for super crazy touristy experiences. I'm really just going to experience a place and experience its people close to their truest form as I can. And so travel for me, there's always more places to go because you can never meet every single person in the world. And my lens to a place is through a local person. So as long as there's another person living in that country, you can go and have a new experience.
Yeah. I always think travel is obviously about the places, but it is about those people that you meet at the random McDonald's where you meet somebody and then you're off on a road trip with an Australian. Talking of meeting people, could you maybe share one of those magical moments or somebody who's impacted you, whether that's in a massive way or a small way, or it's just sort of changed the direction of your life somehow just through one of these random encounters?
Oh, yeah. So when I was in Mali, I think Mali was country 154. I was really kind of burnt out. I've been traveling in Francophone West Africa by myself. And so I speak French, not fluently, so it's still very exhausting toggling between English and French in my brain, especially all day, every day for like a couple weeks. And so I was so exhausted when I got to Mali and things just weren't working out the way that I wanted it to. And I remember calling my friend and I was like, what am I doing? Like, why am I doing this? This is just really, really crazy. This was when I was on my journey to visit every country in the world. And I linked up with this photographer. And so we went to the market and he was telling these guys in the market what I was doing, like, oh, she's going to be the first Black woman to visit every country in the world. And they're like, ah, oh, c'est pas vrai. It's not true. C'est impossible. It's impossible. And, I'm like, no, it's true. And then the one guy says, c'est pas pour toi, c'est pour nous. It's not for you, it's for us. And, in that moment, I think back to that so often because that really helped to push me forward because somewhere along the line, that journey became so much bigger than me. And that's what those guys could see, that it wasn't about me. And so it's like, it's not for you, it's for all of us. And that really helped to push me towards those last 40 countries.
Yeah. I mean, how easy is it to plan and to make that happen and also to pay for it? How did you balance all of those needs, from the cost to the time to wanting to complete this incredible goal of being the first Black woman to visit every country in the world?
I mean, I made space for it. So I work for myself, so I can work from anywhere in the world. So location independence, I have that. And so I just kept working and moving. And, I worked with hotel partners in certain places. So I got a lot of comped hotels. And oftentimes I also had comped like tour services. But outside of that, I paid for it myself. I did a GoFundMe. I did do a GoFundMe and I raised $28,000. So that helped, of course. And, using travel credit cards and getting miles and points, those all came in handy.
Do you know what's really powerful there is made space for it? Because I think sometimes it's so easy to almost make excuses about every reason why you can't do something. And sometimes you've actually got to allow it and to make space for it.
Right.
You mentioned that you were dealing with a little bit of burnout from travel. How do you handle that?
Yeah, I mean, sometimes I would just have to, say, oh, unfortunately, like, I'm not going to see that much in this country or whatever, just because it's like, I'm dead. Like, you know what I mean? You get to a point where you're like, I can't do anything else. So those times I stay in my hotel room. Maybe I get a massage, I order room service, and I really give myself a day. I remember it was unfortunate when I was in Iraq. I was supposed to go to the countryside and do all this stuff, but I was really just burnt out. And so while I stayed in Iraq for like, I think 3 days, I didn't get to see as much as I wanted to because I was burned out. But I also didn't want to continue burning myself out,
Where is home for you? Do you have like a home base now?
Yeah, I do. I live in Detroit, Michigan.
Do you find it easy coming home after traveling?
Um, easy coming home after traveling. Now, yeah, honestly, with 2020, 2020 made me appreciate stillness in a way I don't think I ever would have. And so now, yeah, I love going home. Right now, I'm thinking of my plant babies because I'm in Miami, but they're in Detroit, and I'm like, are you okay, little kids? But yeah, no, I enjoy going home now. It feels comfortable.
What would be your top tips for other women who want to, travel more? What advice would you have for them?
I would just say go. Honestly, I think so often people are looking for a blueprint or a map, and it's like you don't need all of that. Just go. Buy the ticket, rent the car, get the bus ticket, whatever it is. Take yourself to dinner, by yourself. Just go and do something. To travel just means to leave your home. You don't have to go very far, but I would say just go and do something.
Who inspires you in the travel world?
Oh, that's a really great question. So one person is Corey Lee. His name is Curb Free Corey on Instagram. He is wheelchair bound and he's been to Antarctica, which I haven't just yet. And he's been to like over 30 countries. And his outlook on life is just so beautiful. And I think when we talk about representation, a lot of people just think, oh, black and white, but it's also different levels of ability. And these people exist in our society and they should exist everywhere, including in marketing, including in television, film. So I really appreciate him not even necessarily being an activist, but just being his whole self and allowing those of us who have no idea what it's like to live like him to understand how he lives. So him, and then I would say another one is Shar Simpson. She's traveling Black Widow on Instagram. She is in her 60s, and once her husband died, she decided to just go solo traveling. So she's been to over 80 countries, and I just think it's so fascinating to watch because it can give other people hope for life after becoming a widow, and also just how to live fully when you're in your 60s and above. So I would say those two.
Fantastic. I'll make sure I add their link so people can follow along with them on social media. What would you say has been your biggest challenge while traveling?
I wouldn't really say I've had a challenge, really. Honestly, I think I've been the universe has supported me in every single way. Like I have two passports. I'm Ugandan and American, so I never had visa issues because I can toggle between two different passports. Yeah. Burnout, I would just say.
What about a magical moment from traveling? Yeah, like if you're ever having like maybe like a low day and you just think, oh, I wish I was somewhere else, or like a memory just pops into your head which makes you smile, which is one of your magical moments?
I think swimming with humpback whales in Tonga. That was really crazy. I mean, like, you're there and there's a humpback whale and you're in the water too. It was really, really crazy. And at the same time, it was so beautiful because you can see they know they're interacting with you and you can see that in their behavior. And I never would have thought that I would feel connected to a humpback whale. So I would say that experience.
Oh my God, that must be incredible. You mentioned Iran as one of the places that you visited, and I think sometimes there are associations with certain countries, maybe more so in places like the UK and America, due in part to the media that is portrayed about these countries as being more high risk. And maybe the countries you're not encouraged to travel to, or you're actively discouraged from going there. Which were the countries which were sort of more towards the high risk end, or you felt were more high risk personally for you to go there?
I wouldn't say personally high risk, but some of the places on like the United States, the State Department's do not travel list, like South Sudan, I think Pakistan was on there, Somalia, The thing for me is that I travel with really open, positive energy. And so I feel that I always bring good to me. So I think about when I entered Afghanistan with my friend and how all of the people at immigration were so excited to see us. And so they were taking pictures and no one really spoke English. And that was such a cool moment. And we had such a great time inside of Afghanistan. And Iran, has been mischaracterized for decades, for sure. Some of the nicest people in the world. And sure, I have to cover my head, but that's the small price that I'm paying to be able to see these ancient mosques and learn so much about the importance of Persian culture to the world. So, unfortunately, because of white supremacy and westernization of the world, we've ignored so much of this important history and places just because we're trying to vilify them so we can extract whatever natural resources we want from them. But these people live normally there like they do anywhere else. And when I travel, I want to go meet those people and see how they're living.
Yeah. Do you have like a particular travel routine that you follow, or, what would be a typical day? What would that look like for you?
Oh, I would say no. I'm very flexible when I travel. I really am like, what do I feel like doing today? So I typically don't plan rigid schedules unless it's something like a tour or something like outside of the city where I'm staying. Outside of that, I don't have a routine.
You've written loads of amazing blog posts on your website, the catchmeifyoucan.com. Have you ever thought about writing a book about your travel experiences?
I am currently writing a book about my travel experiences.
Ooh, tell us more. How's it going? How's the writing process?
It's very difficult, but it has been really cool just to like go back and revisit all of these countries. I'm doing 100 stories of 100 countries, and it's being published by National Geographic next year. So it's going to include my images, really exciting stuff. So, yeah.
Oh my God, that's fantastic. How has it been for you? So, travel's obviously such a massive part of your life, and then, COVID happened, and it's probably, a big, big shock to the system. How has this time period been for you? How have you managed not being able to travel as much as you normally do?
I've enjoyed it. I've found so much gratitude in the stillness. It's a break that I needed that I never would have given myself. So, of course, things were difficult in the beginning with business and the cancellation of so many events. I get a lot of my income from speaking events. So that was definitely a challenge in the beginning. But once things sort of settled down and I settled into the stillness, I thought it was great. It was really, really great. I mean, now this purgatory in, we're kind of out. Now this is probably weird and a little more difficult to navigate. But yeah, overall, I was really appreciative for that moment.
So, you visited 195 countries, is that right? Or is it 193?
95.
195 countries. What was the last country on your list?
The last country on my list was the Seychelles.
Nice. And then what was it like when you landed, you'd arrived, and you'd completed your goal? How did that make you feel?
It was just unbelievable. Honestly, that's the best way I can put it because I was with my mom was there, my sisters were there, my closest friends in the world were all there. We were all on the same flight when we landed in the Seychelles, and it was it's still unbelievable. Even I can like right now I think back and I'm thinking about them stamping my passport. It truly was unbelievable to think I did it. Even now when I think I traveled to 195 countries, that sounds so crazy to me. So it's still something I'm coming to terms with.
It is honestly like an incredible achievement because I always think of it as, when you look at a map of the world and you're literally like, been there, been there,
Right,
been there.
exactly. Seriously, like, what's funny? I always ask people if I detect an accent, I'm like, oh, where are you from? And sometimes they'll say like a region instead of the country. I'm like, yeah, what country? And it's funny because I can always respond and say, I've been there. Every single time I can say, I've been there. And people, I was down at Soho House here in Miami, and the waitress had a really interesting accent. I said, "Oh, where are you from?" She said, "Oh, Romania." I was like, "Oh, actually, I've been there." She was like, "What?" So from that perspective, it's just really cool to be able to connect with someone from literally anywhere in the world.
So you're 100% Ugandan, born in Detroit.
Mhm.
Spending time over in Uganda, what's that like? How is that as a country?
Yeah, well, I think Uganda is one of the best African countries to visit. We have some of the world's few remaining mountain gorillas. We have the source of the Nile. We have Lake Victoria. So many things to see. But no, I mean, I love visiting Uganda. It was actually my last international trip before the shutdown. And yeah, I love going home. And, I don't often get to see Uganda through the lens of like a tourist, but I love going home, the food, the family, the lushness of the countryside. So it's always a good time.
Yeah. What's like the traditional food? What do you eat there over there?
Yeah, so our main staple is matoke and benyebwa. So matoke is basically they steam or boil green bananas and then they mash it and serve it kind of as a starch. And benyebwa is a ground peanut sauce, so it's vegan. So yeah, that's our main dish.
You travel solo a lot of the time. What is it about solo travel that you really enjoy?
Yeah, the big thing for me with solo travel is definitely feeling like you're getting to really know a place. Because when you travel with other people, you're focused on them, right? You're focused on conversations with them. But when you travel alone, you're focused on everything that's in front of you. Though you're going to have a longer conversation with someone on the street than you would if you were traveling with a companion. And so I just feel like traveling solo allows me to have much deeper cultural experiences.
Are you journaling pretty regularly on your travels, and do you manage to update your blog quite a lot?
No, I'm awful. I definitely don't journal as much as I wish I did, especially now as I'm working on the book. I'm like, why didn't I journal more?
Do you think you'll always be pretty nomadic? Is that something that you can just see yourself always doing, always traveling, always being sort of on the road, or do you think you'd like to settle down at some point?
Well, yeah, I definitely want to settle down. Yeah, I don't like now how I'm living my life. I don't consider it to be nomadic because I really do have a home. Even though I'm not there a ton, I do have a home. So for me, I feel settled.
So obviously I asked you about, the best piece of advice for people would be, just to go for it. But in terms of like practical piece of advice for, women solo travelers, what's your best piece of practical advice for them?
I think, follow your intuition. That's our spidey sense that we have and they don't. So I would say really follow your intuition. If you're traveling alone, don't tell people you're traveling alone, like people that you're meeting when you're out. That's just another way to stay safe. I say dress more modestly just because, unfortunately, globally, sexual assault is an issue. And there's sometimes that you may want to dress more modestly just so that you can avoid unwanted attention. So, yeah, those are some things that I find helpful.
Where's the best place for people to find more information about you, to follow along with your travels and your adventures?
Yes, that would be at the Catch Me If You Can. So the website is thecatchmeifyoucan.com and on Instagram and everywhere else, the Catch Me If You Can.
Were you inspired by the movie?
Actually, no. It was more because my friends would always call me Carmen San Diego, or whenever people would send me an email or a text, or I'm like, where are you? And I'm like, you got to catch me if you can. So it came from that.
Oh, no, I love it. Have you seen the movie?
I have, yeah.
Yeah. Good. Oh, brilliant. Well, Jessica, it's been amazing to speak to you and learn more about your love of travel and the different adventures that you've been on. And I'll make sure that I share all of the links to your social media and to your blog so people can follow along. But thank you so much for giving up your time and speaking to me.
Perfect. Thank you.
Hey Tribe, I hope you enjoyed the episode with Jessica. Everything that we have talked about today will be available in the show notes at toughgirlchallenges.com. For those of you who are brand new to the Tough Girl podcast, welcome. My name is Sarah Williams. I'm the host of the Tough Girl podcast and the founder of Tough Girl Challenges. Today is a very special day as it is the 6-year anniversary of the Tough Girl podcast. So the Tough Girl podcast was originally started on the 4th of August 2015 and we have been going for 6 years today. So to celebrate, there's been 4 episodes released today, plus a bonus solo episode from myself, and they all came out today at 7 o'clock, 9 o'clock, 11 o'clock, 1 o'clock, and 3 o'clock. So if you subscribed, you'll be getting a whole host of awesome podcast content straight into your wherever you listen to your podcast. So super exciting day, amazing to celebrate this milestone, this achievement. And one thing I would like to say is, I could not do this by myself. I have been hugely supported by the patrons and supporters of the Tough Girl podcast, and I just want to give a big shout out to the women and men who've signed up as a patron, who are supporting the work that I do financially. It really does make a massive difference. So big thank you to Claire Cope, Claire Geneva, Kirsten Palmer, William Cairns, Shell Owen, Stacey Copeland, Alison MacArthur, Kate Joanne Anstey, Leah Atherton, Fiona Wright, Emma Naylor, Louise Hunt, Laura Gush, Joe Horingan, Susan Watt, Nicola Spear, Emma Timmis, Catherine Knight, Amanda Jury, Kirsty Boyd, Lisa McCoy, Mike Gray, Lauren Morton, Mia Van Bijon, Ari Kane. Thank you so much for your belief. Thank you so much for your support. It really does mean the world to me. And you have all helped to change the direction of Tough Girl Podcast. You've helped to inspire so many women and men around the world to go after their dreams, to step outside their comfort zone, to believe in themselves, to take action, to go after what they want. And I just want to say thank you so much. And thank you to all of the patrons. We're now 270 patrons strong, 270 men and women supporting the work that I do. And if you've been listening to the Tough Girl podcast for a while now and would like to support the work that I'm doing, then please do go and visit Patreon, patreon.com/Tough Girl Podcast. There's also more information available on the website, toughgirlchallenges.com. Please do go and check it out with links to the social media channels, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Pinterest, YouTube channel, all of that good stuff. But wherever you are, whatever you are doing, just give it your all, give it 110%, get after it, go for it, believe in yourself because I believe in you. Take care, lots of love, and I'll speak to you soon. Bye.